Hello, friends and beautiful artists. Today I wanted to show you, I've been playing with this a lot. Again, I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can for you. And this is in regards to using white. And there's some different whites. There's a Chinese white, which I actually took this out of my Paul Rubens palette. They call it white, but I'm going to call it Chinese white because it's very transparent and has that watercolor feel to it. And then there's this titanium white, which is, you can also get in a watercolor, but I'm going to just play with the gouache. This is Mission Gouache, so that's the white in there. And I've got black and white paper just so it shows up a little bit more for you. Now, what's interesting is I had to really search for some white watercolor, and actually I had the gouache, but I didn't even use white for a long time because when I went to college, we were taught don't use white. You know, my teachers were very purist and you left white space. You didn't paint it in. So I didn't even have white paint until maybe a few years ago. But you know, that's just a personal choice. Definitely use what you enjoy using. I don't like rules. And if you like using white, use white. What I wanted to show you today is a couple different ways and when I might use white gouache compared to maybe the Chinese white, which is much more transparent. Titanium white, especially the gouache, is going to have a lot more chalky type of look to it. Let me just show you here. So let's just take, I actually already mixed some here. So let's just take this. This is the MeiLiang, Paul Rubens MeiLiang palette for students. You know, I total huge fan of this. This is the turkey blue. I'm going to show you what it looks like on its own. So I'm not even going to put it on the black because I don't even think it would show up. But it's this beautiful, vibrant blue. I love it. It can be very transparent if you pull it out. And now what I want to show you is mixing it with the Chinese white, which is how I would typically use the Chinese white would be, look at that granulation too. Isn't that gorgeous? And keep in mind, guys, this is, you know, this is like a $24 palette. Gorgeous colors. You get every color. It's really transparent, as you can see. It's got beautiful granulation, real vibrancy. So the Chinese white I would typically use for softening colors, maybe creating some really nice highlights because it's going to be very transparent because it's more of a watercolor. The titanium white's going to be more for a bold highlight and maybe even some corrections or details. So let me show you that turkey blue here. And if I was to, I already mixed it here. So this is my Chinese white, the watercolor. I feel like I want to show you how that mixes. So let's just mix it again right here. I'm going to take some of that turkey blue. So look at that beautiful vibrancy. And I put it right here so you could see it. Let me rinse my brush off really nice and pick up with the side of my brush, making sure not to get it down in the ferrule. And I'm going to mix that with that blue. So you can see here, it's creating, it's still allowing the color to be very transparent and beautiful, which is nice. If you want that light color, you can definitely, I'm going to add a little bit more. You can get that softer blue, but it's still very transparent. So let me show you what that looks like. So we've got this beautiful light blue. Now, if I add even more, we can get even lighter. Try and pick up more. It's very transparent, so it's going to take a lot to lighten it up. but that's a good thing too, because you're you know, keeping the integrity of the watercolor look. So that's with a little bit more white. Oops, got too much water in my brush here. So it's even a little bit lighter. I got that great granulation, by the way, with that blue. Now let me show you, let's do that again, but use the gouache. So there's our turquoise color. Just pull that out a little bit. And now I'm going to mix it with the gouache. And you're going to see when you use the titanium white gouache, it's going to be much more opaque. It's going to be kind of lose a little bit of that translucency of watercolors. Let me show you. I'm going to mix it again because I want you to see it mixed. So here's that blue again. And now let me grab some of that white. I want to really rinse my brush. And when I use gouache with my brushes, let me show you. I'll use this product, which I haven't been linking, and a few of you have been asking me. I'll link that for you below. This is a great brush cleaner. So when I use gouache, I do wash my brushes with that afterward. So let me pick up some of this white gouache. And this, again, this is the titanium white gouache. And let's just mix that in there. So I hope the camera's picking this up, but this compared to that is much more opaque, a lot more opaque. Let me show you here. So let's see if we can get that translucency. You can still get it, but it definitely goes on with a chalkier type of look versus this beautiful, you know, transparency. So really depends on what you're doing. Now let me show you how I don't ever normally mix my white gouache with the color to lighten it. I would either, let me show you what that turquoise, just for fun, looks like if I just lighten with water, which is how I was taught. Oops, didn't want to do that. So here is that blue just lightened with water. So look at that beautiful transparency. That's how I was taught to lighten a color, is use water. But honestly, I mean, the adding the Chinese white, which is very translucent, you can get very similar. So, you know, use what you want. Let me mark those for you in case you're screenshotting this. Let me find a pen here. Let's see if I can use this pen. So this one here is just full paint. Nothing added. That's kind of small writing, isn't it? Let's use this pencil. So this is just full paint, full pigment, nothing added there. This is added with Chinese white. And I just added a little bit more for this one. So that is Chinese white. Still, you've got that beautiful transparency. This is just with water, which is how I typically will use, get those lighter colors with my pigment. So I have, every time this Chinese white is in my watercolor palette, I don't even use it. Now here is full paint again. I guess I won't use this because that blue isn't going to show up on there. So let's just get rid of that. So that is full paint. And then this is with gouache. Titanium. That's important because the titanium, if you really want to cover something, that's what I use. Let me show you. If you were to use Chinese white, to try and create like a white spot or something like that. Let me show you what it does. So it's very transparent. You're not going to get a lot of coverage there. Now let me show you with the white gouache. I don't normally go in with my point, but I'm using this, I'm kind of grabbing the paint from the tube. So now watch how much more opaque and how much more coverage there is. See that? So if you really want to create, you know, a white spot, where a light is reflecting onto your painting or flower or whatever it is, you would want to use the white gouache because that's going to have some real coverage there. And if you just want to mix with your paints, the Chinese white is fantastic. Excuse me. You can mix it with the gouache, but it is going to be it's going to have a different effect. So play with those, see what you like, and really choosing between what you're going to use is going to depend on your style and the effect you're going for and how much opacity you need. But for, you know, the purist, the traditional, and you want those white, I was taught to leave the white space. I didn't even have white paints until a few years ago. And titanium white would be your go-to if you're using it to actually cover up the paint underneath, okay? So I hope that was kind of educational for you and explained the different ways to lighten your paint. That's how I use it. And I will link below anything I used here. By the way, I painted on Meeden 100% cotton cold pressed paper, 140 pound. This is just the little blocks. And these are my brushes. There might be a few left. I will link that as well for you. And the Chinese white came out of my Paul Rubens MeiLiang palette. All right, everybody. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was interesting. And let's continue playing.